Now, since it was first introduced 6 years ago, the soft drinks industry levy, widely known as the sugar tax, has applied an additional tariff to drinks containing a certain amount of sugar based on their volume. As well as raising millions of pounds in additional revenue, the scheme has, according to health experts, proved so beneficial that it should now be extended to cover other food and drink products. So analysis of daily sugar intake between 2008 and 2019 across the UK found that it fell by around 4.8 grams for children and 10.9 grams for adults. This was in the 12 months following the levy's introduction. Now, most of the decrease came from a reduction in the levels of sugar in soft drinks, slashing 3 grams from a child's daily sugar consumption and more than 5 grams of that of adults.
Let's speak more about this now, shall we? We're joined on the sofa by our friend, the GP, Dr. Mohit Mandiratta. Good to see you. So, on the face of it, it works.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, from a public health point of view, anything we can do to bring sugar intake down is really important. The World Health Organization suggests that our intake, energy consumption, for a day should be less than 5% of that should be sugar. We know that sugar is linked to type 2 diabetes, obesity, heart disease, tooth decay, and we know that how many issues people are having at the moment in terms of dental access. So anything we can do, from my point of view, would be very, very positive, and it's great to hear this.
And so how is somebody's health improved by that, sometimes just a small reduction in sugar intake?
Yeah, basically, when you have less sugar, when your body has too much sugar in it, it struggles to process how much sugar it has in the body. And that's why if your bloodstream, for example, sugar levels are too high, your body has to store it in different ways. People may have heard of insulin. Your body insulin struggles to process with that blood sugar, and that can lead to type 2 diabetes. Again, if we're getting too much energy in our body, again, we struggle to store that. That leads to obesity. Obesity, we know, is linked to heart disease. It's linked to osteoarthritis of joints. It's linked to cancers actually as well. So for a whole host of reasons, sugar intake reduction is really, really important.
And what these figures show is that clearly this sugar tax works.
Yeah, it does. And I think for me, it's, the policy decision-making is above my pay scale. We need to make sure these sort of decisions don't impact our less deprived populations, our lower-income populations as much. But this should, for me, be part of a whole host of changes that we need to make. I think education is key. We need to educate our children, particularly, who are our future. If we can make them healthier, that reduces the health economical burden we have on the NHS. But I think what we can do to educate our populations to eat healthy, cook healthy, obviously, as well as disincentivising high sugar foods, I think we need to incentivise healthy foods, make them more accessible. But yeah, a whole host of changes, including this, are clearly beneficial.
Because sometimes the alternatives with sweeteners in aren't necessarily great for us. Instead, it might be lower sugar, but there's other stuff in there that might be harmful.
Yes, absolutely. So I think anything in moderation is key. I love a biscuit, but I think you don't want it in excess. And equally, sweeteners in this country are obviously rigorously tested. They are approved. But even sweeteners in excess, they will not make what you're eating or drinking healthier. They will just give you that sweet hit that you need. But even sweeteners sometimes in excess can have sort of laxative properties. So yes, it's balancing up what we're having. But the general, I'd like a generational change for us to just become healthier as a society in terms of healthy cooking, in terms of eating natural foods, fruit, vegetables, getting your 5 in a day, having lots of colours on a plate, that sort of thing.
And inevitably, with these figures coming out showing that potentially looks like sugar tax is successful, inevitably people are saying, well, should we extend it much further rather than just drinks? Let's talk about, you mentioned biscuits. We all like a biscuit.
We do.
Should these things be... Would potentially, that would help too?
I think it would. I think, again, we need to be very careful. At the moment, the unhealthier foods are easier to access. We're living in a cost of living crisis at the moment. Food bank usage is higher than it's been for years and years and years. So I think it needs to be carefully decided, but it should be one of many changes. So as well as disincentivising, I'd really love us to very cheaply and easily get our fruits and vegetables, teach our children and our populations to cook a cheap, healthy meal rather than resorting to junk foods and unhealthy foods, which at the moment are extremely accessible. We've heard about reducing advertising of these sort of things. Again, equally very important as part of a whole host of changes that I'd love to see to make our population healthier.
I just wonder whether you've got any practical examples of people who are sitting there at the breakfast table this morning and they're thinking, OK, it's all very well us talking about healthy living, healthy food, but it's often more expensive and harder to access, as you say. What What little tweaks can we all make in our lives, in our diets, that might make us considerably healthier?
So really simple things. At the moment, obviously, getting diet drinks and zero-type drinks, which don't contain sugar, are cheaper. So if you do like a fizzy drink, and many people do, try that. If you want to have something fizzy still, you could have a low sugar or no sugar squash, mix it with some sparkling water. That will give you that fizzy hit. Obviously, if you're having breakfast, a lot of sort of syrups, that sort of thing actually contain very high sugar levels. So use a bit of fruit instead, some chopped up bananas on your breakfast, on your toast as well. Again, you can get low sugar jams. So lots of nutritional information is available on foods. Again, access to sort of low sugar options.
Too much information, isn't there? I mean, there's like different colours and measurements.
It should be simpler. I think a very simple red, amber, green, just of what's healthy and what isn't, would be really helpful. But I think we are in a society where we can access that information. We can get a lot more healthy foods. So it's choosing those options rather than the really sugary stuff, which we all like, but it should be in moderation.
And it's just a reminder, when you look at the obesity figures, particularly amongst children, something needs to change, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Obesity figures, internationally, we've got over 1 billion people who are obese. In this country, 1 in 4 adults are obese. 1 in 4 adults are obese. 1 in 5 children between 10 and 11 are obese. So we really do need to do something as a country and as a society. So this is part of it, but I think there's a lot more we can do.
Dr. Mohit, thank you. I'm afraid I don't have a biscuit here to offer you, so that's a healthy option anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good to see you. Always good to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.